This episode, I wanted to make the to-do message editable. And I thought what we could do is when we double click on it, it becomes an input field that we can edit. So first things first, let's create an input field. Right now it's a label, and we want to change that to an input field. So let's do that first. So here we have our create to do item function. And I'm gonna also rename this to the message to make it more consistent. We'll make this an input, and we'll start it off being read-only. And the value can be our to-do.message. And the size, which is the size of the input, can be to-do.message.length. So let's do that. You'll see in a minute what the size thing does. So for now, we don't need this. Okay. Now let's take a look at the styling. Now, as you can see, this breaks our animations, but that's not a problem. I'm going to solve it in a minute. But one problem is that the strike to effect was done with a before element, and an input field does not have a before element. So we'll wrap this message in a label so we can use that. And we can add the strike to before to the elements to the label. So create element label. One more thing I will want to do with to-do message. No, for now we'll leave it. So we have our label and we have our message. Now we can say to-do label dot add, or no, event childs to-do label. Excuse me, to-do message. And now we'll append not our message to our item, but our to-do label. So now you can see that the size has an impact. The size is defined by the to-do length. Now, personally, I think it's a bit too long. So I'm gonna try I'll just say const input length equals to-do dot value and to-do dot message and to-do dot length is bigger than 5. Well, make it 15. So what we will do is we will check if the message is long enough. Actually, I'm just going to do this. It's longer than 5, and if it's 5, we'll take off 5 from the length to define our input size. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, for now this seems to be better, and our strike through is just still working. So the last thing we want to do is we want to style our to-do app again. So let's go to our style sheet, and here we can see that we did everything on the label. But some things we will have to move to the input field now. So I'm looking at what we should do. I think here we can say so we have the check mark, we take the label that's directly next to it, that's what the plus operator does, and then we take the first input, an input that's directly a child of label. And we'll just say font size, inherit, so that makes it a bit bigger. We'll have to adjust our length. Our border radius. Like that. Maybe give it a padding on the x-axis. Okay. We'll remove the background now. And we will remove the border. We'll make it transparent so it doesn't look like an input field. Oh, that should be transparent as well. Okay, so now it's an input field. That is read-only. Now let's mess with the length a little bit more, because it's not ideal right now. So we'll go to our app class. We'll try 4. Seems slightly better. Okay. So next we want to first we'll add some more styling. So when our input is read-only, we'll say user select none, and we'll also say that on focus our outline is none. So the user select none doesn't seem to work. Not exactly sure why, but that's fine. That's not a big deal. Next we'll add a double click functionality. So when we double click it, we toggle the read read-only parts. So what we can do is here we do in our app elements, we say app elements dot add event listener double click, I believe. And we'll say on label. No, on message double clicked. So we can now create the on message double clicked function. There we go. Takes in an event. I'm not exactly sure about this name though. Well, we'll figure it out. So first we can do the same thing here, but in this case we will say what we'll do, just like here we use these attributes as a selector, and we can do that too. So if our parents has an attribute called TODO item, well, if it does not have this attribute, then we're not interested, and we just return. Now it's quite simple. We do events dot, well, if our, I'm gonna also, just like I did this, we'll do that first here as well. So I'll just create a variable for the target so it's a little bit more clear in the naming what it is. We'll call it message input. So that's our message input. If that one has an attribute required, then let's remove it. Dot remove attribute required. If not, we'll just set one, set attribute required, like that. And let's test this out. It does not appear to be working. So what I will do is add a debugger statement to see. Okay, so we double clicked it, we actually get in there. Our parent node is, of course, is our label. So parent node is maybe not the best idea, but what we can do is use closest, which is also sort of a selector which looks at ancestors or the element itself. So this should check if there is a if our target is actually part of a to-do item, no matter how deeply it is nested. So let's see if that works. So clearly it says it doesn't work, and I can see why. I made a typo. Still not to worry. And still made a typo, or in this case here. So why is this not working? Let's see what our target is. Oh, that's my bad. It's like this. It's not item, it's ID. We have an ID on there. So that one should work. By the way, the console is really nice. If you place a debugger statement, you can then write code in that context. It's really nice to try things when things are not working. So now it is working. Just gonna remove the debugger statement for now and see what's happening. And I called it required. I'm not really very focused today, apparently. I'm making a lot of little mistakes, but that's fine. It's part of the process. So that, of course, has to be read-only. There we go. Now we can actually change this. That's lovely. Now, one thing I will do is see if we can sort of animate this a little bit. So for example, what would happen if we set that the padding was 0, 0 when focused, when read-only, and when it's not read-only, we make it 8 pixels, and we'll actually no, that was already there. We will put a transition here and see if it actually works. Just to be consistent. So that actually works. That's kind of cool. One thing that I would like to do then is maybe also animate those two properties. Like so. Cool. Now, if I look at it, I might actually add a little bit of potting. I don't think I ever want focus on that. Yeah, that's nice. Actually, one thing that I would like to do is not use our border, but maybe our box shadow to make it a bit more consistent. So I'll just do this. I'm gonna make it transparent. Let's see what that does. Great. So our to-do button is editable. We don't save it yet, but that is something we can easily do. But first, what I also want to do is I'm gonna make two extra functions on up clicked and on app double clicked. And I will move our on message, no, not on message, on checkmark change in here. And I will move our message double clicked in here. Then I'm going to change those. Okay, so now I can just add extra functions in here and don't have to keep adding event listeners. So another one I want is on click actually, yeah, on click outside check mark. I'll just make this method now. And what I want to do is when we click outside, I want to close this. I want to put it back in read-only mode. So we'll loop over each. So first we'll get const check marks. No, not check marks, of course, but message inputs is, and now let's think about this app dot query selector all et to do ID inputs. So I'll do it like this. So we loop over all our inputs and we just check. We can copy this part, just put it here. We'll have to change our condition. Just also call this message input. So now we can just, instead of checking this, if it does not have a read-only attribute, so if it's not in read-only mode, and event.target.closest closest. So let me think about this. So if our message input does not have the attribute read-only and our closest target with the selector does not equal our message inputs, then we close it. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, I had one too many. Okay, let's test this. Okay, so click here, that's fine. And that's not working. Let's debug. I'll just, because of the debugger, I think that the double click is not registering because the click events are too far apart. So I'm just gonna log some stuff. Actually, that's fine. So first we log if our input is open, and then we log the closest input here. Let's see what that does. So you would think that this actually gets removed, but that doesn't happen. And I'm not sure why, because I would think that this of course it has to be has attribute, otherwise it won't work. Oh, that's great, it opens them all now. So what am I missing? I'm not exactly sure what is going on. Okay, this is special because it makes everything non-read only. Okay, this has to be set attributes. I'm just completely flipping the action that I have to do. Okay, so now that works. So you can only edit one at a time. When you click outside, it closes the edit mode. So that's great. Now the last thing, of course, is to make sure that because now if we type something here and we reload, it's not getting saved because we're not actually setting the to-do item. So the last thing to do is in our create function where we create the to-do message, there are actually two events that we want to do. One is actually we can do the same event on inputs. We will, oh, a little mistake there. Okay. We will do two things. First, we will resize it. Because right now, if I type here, it doesn't resize. Input size, excuse me, to do message dot size equals input size. And then hopefully okay, little mistake there. Hopefully when we edit this, it should resize, which it doesn't really do, but we'll look at that in a moment. Okay, so now if we edit it, it might have to be an attribute, so set attributes size to our input size. Let's see if that works. Remove the debugger, reload that, try that again. Not exactly. Let's check. Of course, this. Okay, no, this has to be so have our event, and yeah, we cannot use the do.message because that's of course the one that we want to update. So that makes no sense because it's not yet updated. We can't use it. So we use event.target.value, or in this case to do message, which is not the same as to do dot message. So yeah, that seems to work. And now I want to see if it would work like this. No, it has to be an attribute apparently. Now, one thing that I thought was a bit strange. is that it makes it immediately a lot longer than it was before. No, I did use length, right? Oh, my bad. It has to be value. There we go. That's it. Okay. Great stuff. Resize the inputs. Next part, save the to-do or update to-do item. For that, we will just look at our code here. I'm just going to clean this up in the meantime. Okay. So I copied this over so we get the this case we can just say it's the to-do item. We get our to-do item, the ID, we get the item itself, and then we say that our message is equal to our to-do message dot value. And then we update that. Now, actually, what I want to do, I'm gonna add this in a separate event. And I'm going to do this on a change event, so it only updates when you lose focus of the input. Because we are storing everything in local storage, as soon as it updates, we do not really want to update it with every keystroke. We just update it once. So that should mean that if I just refresh this shouldn't work. But when I do it like this, it also doesn't work. Not exactly sure why. It doesn't know. Data service is not defined, of course. That makes sense. Yeah, I didn't think about that. So the problem, of course, is that we do not have access to our data service here. But there is a very simple solution to that. This is kind of stateful anyway. So what I will do, I will say window.app is app. And that way I can always get to it. But right now, to-do app doesn't return anything. So I will return the context of our to-do app like that. Call it data service. Okay. We will return this, and now we have sort of this stateful the stateful app, and if we look at window.app, we can now see that I can have access to our render and our data service. You can see here the different method. So that's kind of a nice thing, which will fix our problem and which would be useful anyway in the future, that you have sort of a global state that you can refer to. So I'll just say window.app.dataservice.update. And if we're a little bit lucky, then that works, but of course it doesn't. So let's check what is happening. Yes, data service is not defined, but I'm not using that anymore. I'm also using that here. So now it's updated, so that works. And now, like I said, we use a change event, so I believe, and I'm not exactly sure if that will work. Jesus Christ, this double click thing is not really handy. If I just refresh now, yeah, it doesn't do that, so you have to click outside for it to save. Okay, let's end it there. Quite a long video already. So see you in the next one.